ordinary person who has never learned martial arts. Could so many people really have committed suicide? If it really is a suicide plague, then how many more people have to die before it ends? But from that day onward, the suicide plague suddenly vanished without a trace, and in its place, a new bloody storm swept across all of Phoenix. A nameless wandering hero suddenly emerged in the underworld, and began settling accounts with those gangs one by one. Even the famous White Tiger Gang and Scarlet Wolf sect were directly wiped out. Keep your voice down. Only the Black Snake Guild is left now. If they hear you, it won't end well. What's there to be afraid of? Sooner or later, our nameless hero will deal with them too. Hearing these rumors about himself, Dong Bongsu silently left the inn, and walked toward tonight's target, the last gang, the Black Snake Guild headquarters. Because the nameless hero had been striking again and again lately, panic had already spread through the Black Snake Guild. I heard that guy has already wiped out 3 gangs. Now only the Black Snake Guild is left. All of you, stay sharp and stop slacking off. But in the very next second, the man beside him was beheaded on the spot. The man stared at the scene before him in utter disbelief. The companion who had been alive just a moment ago had fallen in the blink of an eye. The instant he drew his sword to protect himself, Dong Bongsu was already standing behind him, and with a single clean, decisive slash, took his life directly. Go down and keep your companion company. After that, Dong Bongsu slowly pushed open the gates of the Black Snake Guild, and without pausing for even a step, walked straight inside. Dong Bongsu was still wondering where everyone inside had hidden, when the next second, a rain of arrows fell from the sky. Dong Bongsu immediately leapt backward and avoided the arrows. He raised his eyes toward the direction the arrows had come from, and beneath the city wall, a dense mass of Black Snake Guild members poured out in an instant. So they had already laid a trap and were only waiting for Dong Bongsu to walk into it himself. The man in the lead shouted sternly, "You nameless rat, and you dare come cause trouble in the Black Snake Guild." Facing this pack of ferocious thugs, Dong Bongsu did only one thing. He assumed the opening stance for drawing his sword. Get him! Kill this arrogant bastard! As soon as the words fell, everyone grabbed their weapons and charged in together. Some even leapt into the air and attacked Dong Bongsu from all sides. Dong Bongsu gripped the hilt tightly, and a powerful force instantly wrapped around the entire scabbard. The 3 forces sword art, sweep away 1,000 troops. With a flash of sword light, the men rushing forward were cut in 2 on the spot. The thugs in the rear who had not yet charged were completely dumbstruck at the sight. But by the time they thought of running, it was already too late. Dong Bongsu's blade never stopped. It was as fast as the wind, and one thug after another fell. At that moment, an elite in the distance split his eyes with rage. All of you, get out of the way. I'll kill this brat myself. He lunged forward with his spear. Dong Bongsu casually seized the wrist of the man beside him, gave it a light twist and throw, and hurled that man into the air. Immediately after, he used the momentum to smash the man into the elite, while the long blade in his hand was already in position. With one thrust, both men were skewered together on the spot. Until the moment of his death, that elite could not believe that he would die at the hands of someone as despicable as Dong Bongsu. Just then, a scar-faced man suddenly appeared behind Dong Bongsu and brought down his blade. Brat, go to hell. Dong Bongsu tried to draw his sword and turned to counterattack, but he had not expected that his sword would be firmly seized by the thug from before. At the razor's edge between life and death, Dong Bongsu used the system space to strike out a flash of sword light from behind, instantly splitting the scar-faced man's head in half. That's impossible. He clearly didn't even turn his head. Dong Bongsu was just inwardly relieved that he had prepared a backup plan in advance, when a dagger suddenly plunged into his abdomen without warning. The violent impact blasted his whole body flying. Finally caught your opening. I thought you were some monster that didn't fear death, but it turns out you're just a person who bleeds too. As long as you're human, we can kill you. Dong Bongsu grabbed the broken blade lodged in his abdomen with his bare hand and yanked it out, then raised his hand and lifted off the bamboo hat blocking his vision. Wonderful. In such a beautiful world, I'm going to enjoy myself properly. With those words, Dong Bongsu smiled and charged back into the crowd once more. Meanwhile, in a thatched hut not far from the exit beneath the city wall, several men hid in the shadows and coldly observed the battle. What's going on? There are a lot fewer screams now? Don't tell me he really killed everyone by himself? Usually we just extorted a bit of money and have done a little human trafficking a few times. There are plenty of bastards worse than us, so why is he targeting us specifically? Just because we're easy to bully? We have to settle him here. We absolutely cannot let him break through to the back. The guild leader is in the manor. Just then, a figure appeared at the gate of the tower. The man immediately ordered the hidden archers to fire. The next second, countless arrows shot out from inside the thatched hut, all racing toward that dark silhouette. He then stuck his head out, anxious to confirm whether the target was dead. But in the very next second, the archer behind him was suddenly decapitated. Then, as if a plague were spreading, the people inside the hut were beheaded one after another. The man was utterly terrified and dumbfounded. No matter how hard he tried, he could not believe it. In just an instant, all his men had fallen dead for no clear reason. Nameless hero, come out. I know you're in there. What exactly do you want? Why are you trying to wipe us all out? You're nothing but a devil. Before he could finish, his head flew off. There is only one thing I want, your lives. At this moment, the Black Snake Guild was already littered with corpses, and Dong Bongsu had finally reached that brightly lit manor. The only one left before him was Bang Poyum, the leader of the Black Snake Guild. At first it had been the White Tiger Gang. He killed Zhonghu there and leveled up because of it. But compared to truly powerful opponents, that slight increase was still not enough. To continue growing stronger, Dong Bongsu began using all kinds of tactics. Lure the enemy deep in, strike from behind, and even set fire directly to their camp. By the time the other side realized something was wrong, there was already no road left to retreat. At this point, more than half of the White Tiger Gang had already been slaughtered by him. And during this process, the common people gave his killing a name, the Nameless Hero. This new mask of the Nameless Hero also made it easier for him to clean out the gangs. The moment Dong Bongsu cut down the White Tiger Gang leader, he had already reached level 5, and had obtained 2 new skills, Lightness Skill, and the 3 Forces Sword Art. This finally gave him the strength to suppress gangs head-on. And now, among the gangs left in Phoenix City, only one remained, the Black Snake Guild. In the deepest part of the Black Snake Guild, an old man sat quietly at the entrance of the manor. This man was the Black Snake Guild leader himself, Bang Poyum. A bolt of lightning crashed down, and Dong Bongsu had already fought his way here. So you're the Nameless Hero? Facing Bang Poyum's question, Dong Bongsu did not utter a single word. You don't want to waste words with this old man? Since you call yourself a hero, why wrap yourself so tightly? Are you afraid I'll recognize you? Unfortunately, I'm no hero. I'm just a madman who wants to slaughter. That so-called hero is merely a name those people came up with themselves. Hearing this, Bang Poyum burst out laughing on the spot. So that's it. The great nameless hero they worship is actually a murderer? That's far too interesting. It seems that even if I die here today, I won't regret it. Come, let this old man see just how strong a killer like you really is. With that, he raised his sword and advanced toward Dong Bongsu step by step. At the same time, Dong Bongsu also fully released the killing intent inside his body. The two auras collided head-on in an instant. But after several exchanges, Dong Bongsu gradually fell into a disadvantage. Bang Poyum caught an opening in his defense, and thrust his sword straight at Dong Bongsu's arm. Dong Bongsu had thought the distance was insufficient, but as the sword light swept past, a bloody gash instantly split open across his arm. Blood splattered on the spot. Dong Bongsu immediately retreated and forcibly widened the distance. Just as I thought, your body is in terrible condition right now. That is your greatest mistake. You dare challenge me while already injured? Today I'll make you understand what price arrogance demands. Bang Poyum attacked like a madman, targeting Dong Bongsu's wounds again and again. If this fight keeps going like this, my injuries will only get worse and worse. I have to change tactics immediately. Dong Bongsu was still forcing himself to think of a countermeasure, but Bang Poyum attacked once more, preparing to cripple him completely. Dong Bongsu hurriedly used the 3 Forces Sword Art to block head-on. But in the next instant, the opponent's weapon suddenly came apart and coiled around Dong Bongsu's arm like a venomous snake, directly severing his left hand. Damn it! Dong Bongsu forcibly activated his lightness skill and kicked Bang Poyum in the abdomen, sending him flying on the spot, and smashing violently into the building beside them. Dong Bongsu had just thought he might have a moment to catch his breath, when countless black serpent phantoms suddenly rose from the ground. He stared fixedly at the scene before him in disbelief. What kind of martial technique is this? The next second, a giant void serpent stretched across before him. Bang Poyum slowly spoke, "You truly surprised this old man. Your fighting style is not like a warrior's, but more like an assassin's, like a hunter's. You should remember, when dueling a martial artist, the more trump cards you hide, the longer you live. And now, this old man has more hidden cards than you. That is why you will lose." As he spoke, he swung the giant serpent phantom in his hand. Under this strike, you have nowhere left to go. It's time to end this. Nameless murderous madman, die. The savage serpent phantom hung in midair, like a giant beast looking down on its prey, completely pinning Dong Bongsu in place. The instant it opened its fangs and pounced, Dong Bongsu suddenly drove force into his right foot and stomped heavily on the ground. Dust exploded upward and instantly swallowed the area where he stood. You think using dust to blind this old man's eyes will let you evade my attack? At that moment, a light shone within the dust. Seeing this, Bang Poyum immediately attacked the source of the light with all his might. Finally caught you. But the moment he saw what he had hit, his eyes widened instantly. It was actually the corpse of a Black Snake Guild underling. Damn it, this brat even knows trickery to deceive the eye. Where exactly did his real body go? Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu had already leapt high into the air. The three forces sword art, second form, drive straight for the yellow dragon. The sword force plunged from the sky and stabbed straight for Bang Poyam's heart, but Dong Bongsu had not expected that Bang Poyam would catch the strike bare-handed with his palm, causing the sword to veer away from the fatal point. As expected of an old veteran, he could make that kind of judgment in that instant. At this moment, Bang Poyam had gone completely mad. He whipped his sharp weapon around and suddenly reversed the direction of the blade, shooting straight toward Dong Bongsu. Dong Bongsu wanted to retreat, but the sword in his hand was firmly seized by the other party. Left with no choice, he immediately summoned the system space. In front of Bang Poyam, one underling corpse after another suddenly appeared, frightening him into wildly slashing his blade in all directions. Within only a few breaths, he chopped all those bizarre things into pieces. When silence finally returned around them, Bang Poyam barely managed to suppress that agitation inside himself. He suddenly swept his gaze across the surroundings, rapidly searching for Dong Bongsu's figure. But the place was empty, without a single person in sight. "You damned nameless killer, get out here! You lunatic, you won't even spare the dead." Just then, an arrow shot through the air, and Bang Poyam raised his sword to block it. "You despicable thing, don't let me catch you." But in the next second, another arrow brushed past the bridge of his nose from behind. Only then did Bang Poyam realize he was becoming the prey, like a lamb waiting to die. At that moment, a black shadow flashed past in front of him. Bang Poyam lost his reason and, without thinking, lashed out fiercely with his snake whip. "I've finally got you." But when he saw the shadow clearly, he realized it was only a severed arm. In the next instant, Bang Poyam felt a tide of coldness surge up behind him, a grim pressure stabbing into his spine. Immediately after, a sharp blade pierced through his chest. Bang Poyam had never imagined that in the end, the one who would lose was still himself, and that it also meant all the gangs of Phoenix had been completely annihilated. "Before I die, can you tell this old man your reason for doing all this? Does there need to be a reason? Humans are born to slaughter one another. Ever since they were still like apes, up to today, when they built civilization, it has never stopped. Even after coming to this martial world, it is still the weak devouring the weak and the strong reigning supreme. Only this time, the strong one is me. Phoenix's gangs have been cleared out. Now it's time to enter the next stage, to go someplace stronger and harder to hunt." At this moment, deep within distant mountain ranges, stood a powerful sect of the martial world. Inside the main hall, everyone was holding an emergency meeting. The person at the head spoke solemnly. "There are still 2 years until the war between the righteous and demonic factions, so it is about time to activate our plan. Like Cloud, receive the order. This subordinate is here. Carry out the first scheme." The scene shifted, and after wiping out all the gangs, Dong Bongsu was still, as usual, out on the street walking the horse. But at some point, news of the gangs being exterminated had already spread throughout all of Phoenix. "Did you hear? That nameless hero even wiped out the Black Snake gang in one sweep. We shouldn't call him the nameless hero anymore. We should call him a great hero. If not for him, we'd still be getting trampled under those people's feet." But the man in green beside them vaguely felt that something was off. But even if he is a hero, slaughter on this scale, is it really a good thing? What's wrong with it? That bunch of bastards were complete scum through and through. Whether it's the authorities or the famous righteous sects, none of them have ever cared about poor people like us. In the end, isn't the only one willing to stand up for us the nameless hero? The man in green thought about it, and had to admit that those words were blunt but true. In times like these, other than the nameless hero, who else would stand up for people like us? That's right, the nameless hero is our hero. The man excitedly raised both hands and ran onto the street shouting, "Long live the nameless hero." The other two exchanged glances, then also began shouting. Those bastards from the Black Snake gang got what they deserved. Long live the nameless hero. Very quickly, the surrounding common people were ignited by the emotion, and one after another they poured into the streets, with wave after wave of cheers. Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu walked through the crowd, watching it all with cold eyes. "About time. I should leave." Time quickly passed until evening. Dong Bongsu led the fine horse back to the front of the stable. The system suddenly prompted, "An enemy more than 10 levels higher than you has entered within a 20-meter radius." At that moment, the passive effect of Spirit Eye activated automatically. Dong Bongsu instantly understood. There had to be a powerful expert inside the stable. Pretending to notice nothing, he raised his hand and pushed the door open. But there was more than one person inside. One was Ji Daehyo, the chief of the Black Crow squad who had come before. The other was the head of the Danri family, the flying heavenly demon sword, Danri Cheon-woo. Dong Bongsu did not know why he had appeared here, but he was certain of one thing. The man before him was not someone his current self could afford to provoke. Danri Cheon-woo reached out and stroked the fine horse. It is also time to part. Dong Bongsu was shocked to discover that Danri Qianwu's feet had risen off the ground. This Qinggong? Danri Qianwu continued, on the 15th of next month, the second daughter of the Namgung family head is to be married. So you plan to offer your beloved horse as a wedding gift? Yes, as long as I can send one of my children into the Namgung family. Even if I have to go further than this, I am willing. Whether it is marrying off a daughter or sending a son there as a disciple, two pieces of wood cross a river more easily than one, do they not? But the Namgung family may not accept either one. I know, that is why I called you here. No matter what means you use, this matter must be accomplished. As those words fell, an invisible pressure dropped directly onto Ji Daehyo's shoulders. We leave tomorrow. There is still much to do. Driven into a corner with no room to retreat, Ji Daehyo could only grit his teeth and agree. At this moment, Danri Qianwu looked toward Dong Bongsu, who was kneeling on the ground. Take this fellow along as well. Let him watch over my horse on the journey. There must be no mistake. After saying that, he turned and left. Time quickly moved to the next day, and Dong Bongsu arrived at the gathering place early in the morning to wait. Of course, beside him was the true star of this trip, Danri Qianwu's beloved horse. There was only one thing in Dong Bongsu's mind: to grow stronger. He longed for real martial arts, not just the hollow shells of moves given by the system. He had once tried imitating the movements of family martial artists and gang fighters, but in the end, it was only imitation, never the real thing. The worst plan he could think of was to steal a secret manual and train by himself. The best plan was to find a true master and become his disciple. But becoming someone else's disciple was never easy. What was more, this body was already 18 years old. To begin learning martial arts at this age was practically already too late. But this time, it happened to be an opportunity. The Namgung family was one of the 5 great families of the Central Plains, wielding enormous power, and perhaps there he could find a way to learn martial arts. Moreover, stronger prey was waiting for him there as well. Not long later, Ji Daehyo arrived with his men and completed the assembly. But his subordinate reported that the young master and young lady accompanying them this time had not yet arrived. Danri Hui disliked traveling with servants and would most likely catch up later. As for Danri Ganghae, he was probably still at some inn on Phoenix Street. At this thought, Ji Daehyo swung himself onto his horse and galloped toward Phoenix Street. The large group behind him could only follow helplessly. Soon, they arrived in front of an inn. Just then, a loud crash came from inside. Again, this guy really is a headache. Danri Ganghae was the eldest son of Danri Qianwu. He was shockingly talented, a natural genius at martial arts, but his character was terrible. He was frivolous, fond of wine, and lustful. So his reputation around here had never been very good. Judging from the commotion, he was probably inside fighting at full tilt again. The next second, a figure was blasted out through the inner wall. The moment Ji Daehyo saw clearly who had been sent flying, he was instantly stunned. The person knocked flying was actually Danri Ganghae, the young master of the Danri family. Danri Ganghae fell to the ground and roared at the inn. "You bastard! I'm going to cut you into 1,000 pieces." But before he could finish speaking, a streak of light like electricity flashed past. Ji Daehyo could hardly believe that his family's young master had been beaten like this right before his eyes. Meanwhile, Dong Bongsu was burning with excitement. The mysterious person before him was definitely an expert among experts, and overwhelmingly powerful at that. That expert even stepped on Danri Ganghae's face. Under the horrifying force pressing down, Danri Ganghae's face was visibly deformed beneath the foot. Ji Daehyo flew into a rage on the spot. "You bastard! Stop this at once." But the old man merely swept him a cold glance. "What are you supposed to be?" As the words fell, his aura erupted with a boom. Ji Daehyo felt that pressure and cold sweat instantly broke out all over him. "I advise you to take your foot off him immediately. He is a young master of the Danri family. If you do not move away now, we will have to act." At this moment, the several guards behind him also assumed battle stances at the same time. But Dong Bongsu saw it even more clearly. An expert whom even the chief of the Black Crow squad did not recognize. Meant that this man was not from this area at all. In his perception, even if everyone here attacked together, they still would not be the old man's match. As long as no one courted death, no one would actually die. Because a powerful lion never cares about the ants beneath its feet. Instead, the old man looked puzzled. What is this Danri family thing? Is it edible? With his family publicly humiliated, Ji Daehyo exploded instantly. Anyone who dares insult the Danri family will not be spared. Don't be angry. I truly do not know whether the Danri family is food, or something to be stepped on. Those words completely ignited Ji Daehyo's fury, and he violently drew the long sword at his waist. All members of the Black Crow squad, hear my command. Attack at once and rescue the young master. The next second, the attendants behind him rushed forward with swords raised. But the old man did not even twitch an eyebrow. A strand of green true chi moved along his fingertips. He opened his palm, and a silver needle as fine as a hair, carrying terrifying force, instantly shot through the air, heading straight for Ji Daehyo in the crowd. In the next instant, everyone who had charged forward was struck in the forehead by silver needles, including Ji Daehyo, who was leading them, and they all dropped to the ground, their bodies stiff and unable to move. Even lying on the ground, Ji Daehyo still could not believe it. That strike was like a butterfly that pursued the soul itself. This old man was actually Tang Wu, the soul-chasing poison hand, famed throughout the martial world. One had to know that among the martial world there were 20 top experts. Among them were 2 gods, 3 monsters, 5 peaks, and 10 grandmasters. And the supreme leader of the Sichuan Tang family was one of those 10 grandmasters, the soul-chasing poison hand, Tang Wu. Anyone who offended Tang Wu, even if they died and became a wandering soul, still could not escape his poisonous hand. Watching the Black Crow squad lying all over the ground, Dong Bongsu's heart sank. The Danri family was in serious trouble this time. Just because one idiot had provoked a figure like this, if it was not handled properly, the whole family could be dragged down. But the problem was, how was this going to be resolved now? While Dong Bongsu was still thinking rapidly about how to avoid this disaster, a young girl stepped out from the inn. "Grandfather, let's go. Don't stoop to argue with a bunch of country bumpkins who know no manners." Tang Wu, who had just been overflowing with killing intent, instantly revealed a smile the moment he saw his granddaughter. As you say, this lesson is enough to make them understand how vast heaven truly is. As a successor of a righteous sect, he starts the morning by getting drunk and causing trouble. By this old man's temper, I should not have let him off so lightly. It is only that I could not bear to be too ruthless toward a disciple of the righteous path. When he wakes up, tell him this: if he dares casually harass an innocent young woman again, he will not live to die of old age. Ji Daehyo, lying on the ground, spoke with difficulty. "Many thanks for Senior's mercy." Tang Wu raised a finger and gave a casual wave, and the silver needles embedded in everyone's foreheads were instantly all pulled out, flying back along their paths and landing once more between his fingers. But when he turned to leave, he saw something that should not have appeared here. What caught his eye was Dong Bongsu standing in the distance. At that moment, the two of them met each other's gaze. "Wait here for a moment." After saying this, he walked straight toward Dong Bongsu. The moment he realized the other man's target was actually himself, Dong Bongsu's back tightened, as if he had been locked onto by a hunter. By the time he came back to himself, Tang Wu was already standing in front of him. "Boy, what is your name?" But faced with such a simple question, Dong Bongsu froze. This old man has no patience. "I will ask you one last time. What is your name?" The young woman behind him called out impatiently. "Grandfather, what are you doing?" "Nothing." This old man is only asking this little brat a few questions. Dong Bongsu was stunned by this. Could it be that the original owner of this body had had some dealings with this old man? But unexpectedly, the first thing the other party asked was simply his name. Seeing that Dong Bongsu was still standing there blankly without responding, Tang Wu's expression darkened. "This old man will ask you one last time. What is your name?" But Dong Bongsu still only stared at him straight on, without uttering a single word. "You little thing that still reeks of mother's milk." Tang Wu's anger surged, and he was just about to erupt, when Ji Daehyo immediately stepped forward to explain. "Senior, he is a horsekeeper, and he is also mute." Tang Wu froze when he heard that, then fixed Dong Bongsu with a sharp gaze that pierced over like a blade, and Dong Bongsu felt as if he had been seen through completely. Tang Wu looked at him as if he were looking at something rare. Dong Bongsu's heart jumped. This might be an opportunity, his chance to escape the identity of a horsekeeper. Tang Wu's eyes sharpened, and suddenly he grabbed Dong Bongsu's arm. A stream of green true chi instantly poured into his body and began probing. The next second, Tang Wu suddenly burst out laughing. Dong Bongsu was full of confusion, but Tang Wu gave no explanation at all. He turned to Ji Daehyo and said, "You are headed to the Namgong family, correct?" After a brief exchange, Tang Wu confirmed that Dong Bongsu was merely an insignificant horsekeeper. Tang Wu spoke directly. "I want to take him with me." "That is possible. But without him, no one will be able to safely deliver that fierce horse to the Namgong family." "I see. Then we will travel together. Once we reach the Namgong family, this old man will take the boy away. If necessary, this old man will write a letter to your family head explaining the matter." Hearing this, Ji Daehyo had wanted to weigh it a bit more, but when his eyes met Tang Wu's gaze that looked ready to kill, he immediately changed his words. "We had originally intended to present both him and that prized horse together to the Namgong family. Since Senior Tang has taken a liking to him, then we will do as Senior wishes." Tang Wu nodded in satisfaction and stepped forward. "What are you still standing around for? Set out at once." Ji Daehyo only felt a headache coming on. The situation had completely slipped out of his control. Left with no choice, he ordered the servants to carry Danri Ganghae away for treatment. The others immediately set out for the Namgang family. The scene shifts, and night falls. The large